Hi everyone. I'll just read something, but I will check myself first if I can hear. Wait a moment, my phone is hanging. I cannot check it. Well. Okay, here it is. It's very noisy, but it's dark. I cannot see something. I cannot see something. No live stream. Here I can see it now. I will just reread. It's English. What famous 1920s novel with Nick Carraway as narrator does this passage come from? I'll read it again. What famous 1920s novel with Nick Carraway as narrator does this passage come from? The only completely stationary object in the room was an enormous couch on which two young women were buoyed up as though upon an anchored balloon. They were both in white and their dresses were rippling and fluttering as if they had just been back in after a short flight around the house. There was a boom as Tom Bochanan shut the rear windows and the cold wind died out about the room and the curtains and the rugs and the two young women ballooned slowly to the floor. The answer is The Great Gatsby. The Great Gatsby. 1920s novel, Nick Carraway. A famous novel about Nick Adams has this scene with reminder Nick gets neck of a train with his new few belongings at of Old Town Sydney. The landscape is burned. He watches the trout and a nearby river for a long time, and the experience brings back all the feelings in our time kay Nick Adams about a famous novel about Nick Adams mo na siya ang In Our Time. Which novel has this hero is forever watching women? Selden had never seen her more radiant. Her made her more conspicuous than in a ballroom. She regained the girlish smoothness, the purity of ten that she was beginning to lose after 11 years of late hours and indefatigable dancing. Really 11 years, Selden found himself wondering, and had she indeed reached the 9 and 20th birthday with which her rivals created her, the House of Mirth. Which novel of ideas features people together to record their health? They had reached the second floor when Hans Castorp suddenly stopped, mesmerized by a perfectly ghastly noise he heard coming. Not a loud noise, but so decidedly repulsive that Hans Castorp grimaced. It was a cough, apparently a man's cough, but a cough unlike any that Hans Castorp had ever heard. A cough which didn't come in spasms, but sounded as if someone was stirring feebly in a terrible mush of decomposing organic material. The Magic Mountain. What novel opens Sproust's many-volume novel about memory, class, and love? And as soon as I had recognized the taste of the piece of Madeline soaked in her decoction of lime blossom, which my aunt used to give me, the whole of Combray and its surroundings taking shape and solidity sprang into being, town and gardens alike from my cup of tea. Swan's Way. What famous Greek epic is that this? She sat a long time in silence. Her heart was wandering. Sometimes she would look at him with her eyes full upon him, and again would fail to know him in the foul clothing he wore. Telemachus spoke to her. Why do you withdraw so far so from my father, and do not sit beside him and ask him questions and find about him? The Odyssey of Homer. In what famous existentialist novel does this opening occur? My man died today, or yesterday, maybe, I don't know. I got a telegram from of home. Mother deceased. Funeral tomorrow. Faithfully yours. That doesn't mean anything. Maybe it was yesterday. The stranger. In which highly experimental in which highly experimental novel of the 20s does this occur between brother and sister? Hello, Benjay, Caddy said. She opened the gate and came in and stooped down. Caddy smelled like leaves. Did you come to meet Caddy? She said, rubbing my hands. What is it? What are you trying to tell Caddy? Caddy smelled like trees and like when she says we the sound and the fury or fiery. What famous novel has a title which has become a kind of catch praise for a dead end situation? Clevenger thought he was right, but Usarian had proof, because strangers he didn't know shot at him with cannons every time he flew up into the air to drops bombs on them, and it wasn't funny at all. And if that wasn't funny, there were lots of things that weren't even funnier. Catch 22. In which 19th century novel does a heroine say the following of her love? He's myself than I am. Whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same, and Lenton's is different as a moonbeam from lightning, or frost from fire. Wuthering Heights. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. Everyone knows this opening line to what is arguably Jane Austen's most famous novel, Pride and Prejudice. The love story between the independent Elizabeth Dark Darcy. However, what is the start of the next line considerably less noted? However, Little known the feeling or views of such a man may be on his first entering a neighborhood. A Tale of Two Cities is Dickens at his best. Virtually everyone can tell you that it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And the sentence goes on in this manner. Antithesis or naming pairs of opposites. However, what is the next line? There were a king with Joe marched the little women Joe March, the little woman that so many girls want to be, says the first line of Louisa May Alcott's novel. Little woman, the line is Christmas. Won't be Christmas without a question is, who marries the character that states the next line? It's so dreadful to be poor, Mr. Brooke. The Scarlet Letter opens with a line that actually sets the mood for the rest of the book. The bleak descriptions give us a clear picture of the grim setting. The line reads, a throng of bearded men in sad colored garments and gray stipple crowned hats, extremixed with women, some wearing hoods and others bareheaded, was assembled in front of a wooden edifice, the door of which was heavily timbered with oak and studded with iron spikes. The next line speaks of two places that, while they might not want to have them, are necessary. What are those? What are the two locations, cemetery and prison? Ah, Joyce. Ulysses was one of the hardest books that I ever read, but it was worth the effort. The first line is stately, plump back. Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of leather on which a mirror and a razor lacy cruised. What is the next line? A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him by the mild morning air. When Hamlet says to be or not to be, that is the question. Does he know that he is saying what is arguably the most famous quote of all time? While we may never know what Shakespeare truly intended there, the opening of this fascinating study of the human mind that we call Hamlet, Prince of Denmark, is much simpler. The first line involves Bernardo calling, "Who's there?" Who answers him with the second line, "Francisco." Some years ago, never mind how long precisely, having little or no money in my purse and nothing particular to interest me on shore. I thought I would sail about a little and see the watery parts of the world. This is the second line of a book with a much more famous line. What is the first line that accompanies this quote? Call me Ishmael. Harper Lee's only novel turned her into a sensation. When he was nearly 13, my brother Jem got his arm badly broke at the elbow. In the second line, he was said to be afraid of never being able to play a certain sport again. What sport was it? Football. Kate Chaplin's short story, A Shameful Affair, begins with these words. Mildred Arm is seated in the snuggest corner of the big front porch of the Cromer farmhouse, was content as a girl, was as content as a girl need to hope to be. What was the next line? This was no such farm as one reads about in humorous fiction. One more from O. Henry's The Gift of the Maggie, the classic tale of Delia and Jim, each sacrificing their favorite possessions for the other, only to find that the other had enhanced what had been sacrificed. $1.87. What comes next? That was all. We watch fish and talk. We catch we catch fish and talk, and we took a swim now and then to keep off sleepiness. It was kind of solemn, drifting down the big, still river, lying on our backs, looking up at the stars, and we didn't ever feel like talking aloud, and it weren't often that we laugh, only a little kind of a low chuckle who speaks the face words. Huckleberry Finn. When I look back on my childhood, I wonder how I survived it all. It was, of course, a miserable childhood. The happy childhood is hardly worth your while. Worse than the ordinary miserable childhood is the miserable Irish childhood. And worse yet is the miserable Irish Catholic childhood, from which work is this quote. Angela's Ashes. Angela's Ashes is the book by Irish writer Frank McCourt and spans life from his childhood in Ireland to that of his life in America. I intensely dislike the orchestrated ugliness of this book, particularly its ending, and feel it detracts from the entire work. A lie gets halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to get its pants on. Who said this? Winston Churchill. Sir Winston Churchill, statesman, politician, orator, through its darkest hours, won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1953 for his many writings, which included a six-volume set titled The Second World War. His own life story makes remarkable reading. I get some seeds, I've got some. I don't have thing that of a salesman. Basta na I got some seeds, that of a salesman. Spoken by Willie Loman in Act 2 of Death of a Salesman by Arthur Miller. This work is the agonizing story of one man's struggle for conception of self and what he sees as the successful life, contrasted against what is his actuality. There is only now, and if today's is your life, then everything in it will be in proportion. This is how you live in a life in 2 days, and if you stop complaining and asking for what you will never get, you will have a good life. From which work is this quote? For whom the bell tolls, tolls. For whom the bell tolls by Ernest Hemingway is the story of a young American in the international brigades during the Spanish Civil War. These words are spoken by the main character Robert Jordan in chapter 13 after he and Maria had after he and Maria have made love in the heather. Dear me, how quickly. And I speak the nearest stranger, then candles out, blow out your candles. From which work is this quote? The Glass Menagerie. This work by Tennessee Williams tells of a family trapped in destructive behavior patterns. The quote is from Tom many years later, long after he has left the home of his youth, turning his back on them all. If, if, if it wasn't for the mist, we could see your home across the bay. You always have a green light that burns all night at the end of your dock, dock. From which work is this code? The Great Gatsby. The main theme in The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald is that which runs through many of the mighty American novels that of the disillusionment of the great American dream for Gatsby. And this novel, Daisy represents his dream and its disillusionment. Follow your spirit, God of Harry England and Saint Henry V. This stirring speech is from Shakespeare's Henry V, Act 3, Scene 1, another jolly battle, and more blood and guts. Tally ho, boys. To lose one parent more Worthing. Mr. Worthing may be regarded as a misfortune to lose both. Looks like carelessness. From which word is this quote? The importance of being earnest. Di ba may humunta? Written by the brilliant Oscar Wilde, these words are spoken by Lady Bracknell in Act 1 of The Importance of Being Earnest. This amusing and clever play deals with several characters maintaining false identities to avoid all the rigid social and moral expectations of that time in Victorian England. And didn't poor old Oscar find that out big time? One flew over the cuckoo's nest. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesey is a powerful novel about the individual's struggle against the authority and repression and conformity that society demands, symbolized in the book by one man's struggle against the nurse in control of insane asylum. And that's it for English handout. Nabata nga kayo ko. Then, eh, so, mga tapog lain. Hindi ko ng English literature. I'm getting older. I'm getting old and there's no one to rely on. A simple thing. Kanara. Grammar. Practice exercises on remedial grammar covering. Okay. Subject verb agreement. The verb and subject must agree with each other. If the subject is singular, then the verb must be singular. If the subject is plural, then the verb must be plural. If a singular subject If a singular subject is separated by a comma, then the following sentence remains singular. The child, together with his grandmother and his parents, is going to the beach. Frank, accompanied by his student, was at the studio. Collective nouns such as family, majority, audience, and committee are singular when they act as one group. They are plural when they act as individuals. A majority of the shareholders wants the merger. The jury were in disagreement. All phrases separated by and are plural. Kung na ay and, na-separate siya, so plural siya. Okay, magsaksak sa inyo lola kay lobat. Oh my God. Phrases separated or are singular. Kung mag-separate siya sa or, kay singular siya, pero mag-separate siya sa, ano daw? All phrases separated by and are plural. Kung and daw, A-N-D, kay plural siya. Phrases separated by or, O-R, are singular. Ted, John, and I are going. Mary, Sheila, and Peter are waiting at the reception. Neither nor and either or are an exceptional case if two subjects are joined by or nor. The verb should agree with the subject that is near to it. Neither the supervisor nor the staff members were able to calm the distressed client. Neither the staff members nor the supervisor was able to calm the distressed client. Choose the right subject and sentence in which the verb comes before the subject. There is many reasons why I can't help you. Wrong na siya, pero there are many reasons why I can't help you. Right ni siya. Modifiers. Use of adjectives and adverbs in correction of sentences. An adjective describes a noun and gives explanation for questions like how many, which one, and what kind. She is a good tennis player. What kind of tennis player? An adverb describes a verb or an adjective and explains the questions beginning with when, where, why, in what manner, and to what extent. She plays cricket well. She plays cricket how? Well. This problem is reasonably simple. How simple? Then, generally, adverbs to end with "ly" to the adjective like she sang melody, flawlessly. She is a real good swimmer. Wrong na siya. She is a really good swimmer. Really is acting as an adverb to modify the adjective good. The new student speaks bad. So wrong na siya. The new student speaks badly. O na siya ang tama. Correct. Badly changes how the student speaks. Corrections in the use of adjectives with verbs of sense. The below given is the list of verbs of perception which are nabasa na tanga lagi ko. A simple thing for having I'm getting old and no one to rely on. Correction in the use of adjectives and verbs of sense. The below the below given is the list of verbs of perception which are described by adjectives. Look, smell, taste, seem, taste, hear, etc. After the 3-week vacation, she looked very well. Wrong na siya. Ang tama ka or correct, after the 3-week vacation, she looked very well. Very good. After the 3-week vacation, She look very good. Mona ang right. Explanation she is well means she is. Explanation she is well means she is healthy or describes a person's well being. A strawberry shortcake tastes deliciously wrong na siya. The strawberry shortcake tastes delicious. Mona ang right. Pronoun agreement. It is similar to subject-verb agreement rule. Pronoun that is used should agree with its subject. The following is the list of pronouns used in a subject and object pos- position. Subject I ang object me, subject we ang object us, subject you, object you, subject he, object him, subject she, object her, subject it, object it, then subject they, object them. Pronoun subject or object. Depending on pronoun's position in a sentence, its from form should also be changed. How how could she blame you and he for the accident? Wrong na siya. Ang tama kay, how could she blame you and him for the accident? Pronounce agreement of each subject. Everyone on this project has to come to the meeting. Muna siya ang tama. The singular form of either or and neither nor takes a singular verb. However, if the noun near to the verb in neither nor or either or, it takes plural. Neither his bodyguard nor he was there. All possessive pronouns should agree in a person and number. Some of you will have to bear your own responsibility. Some is singular. If anyone seems suspicious over, take their details wrong. Ang tama ka, if anyone seems suspicious, take his details. Use of relative pronoun like which, that, or who. They think the words before it. It was late because of the line at the bank, or the line at the bank made me late. Use of indefinite pronoun. Use of indefinite pronouns. One should have their teeth checked every 6 months wrong. One should have one's or his or her teeth checked 6 months, or you should have your teeth checked every 6 months. Mo na siya, right? One should take one's or his responsibility seriously, or you should take your responsibility seriously. Similarities or comparisons. Irrelevant comparison lead to errors in sentences. For instance, a person cannot be compared to a quality or an item to a group. Comparison can be made between two individuals, two qualities, and two groups only. Some common and significant comparisons are made with like as, compared to, less than, more than, other that of, those of, etc. Some constructions often state ideas in similar form. Their grammatical structure depends on the subjects being used between them. They are either or, neither nor, not only, but also. The vision from this building is the vision from this building is not nearly as impressive as from that mountain lodge. Wrong. The vision from this building is not nearly as impressive as the one from the mountain lodge. Munang correct. It's exercises for practice. The following passage is not edited. It contains an error in each sentence. Identify the correct word and write the correct form of them. Tama na na. Goodbye and thank you.